Folks, it's me, Denny Carter from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com coming at you for the week 4 version of the Start Sit Show on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel. That's a mouthful. And yet I didn't stumble over it, which I'm proud of myself for. Thank you for joining me, as always. Hope you're taking time out of frivolous things like work, family life, things of that nature. I'll be upfront with you. I'm down today because we have had 5 straight days of rain and the thickest cloud cover you've ever seen. I don't know if the hurricane is to blame or whatever. I live in Maryland. I haven't looked that powerfully into why. All I know is that have not seen the sun in a long time. I would like to see it again. Is what I would say about the sun. But, since we are officially into autumn or fall, it is a good reminder, a refresher for me, that fall's terrible. I know. Okay, like it's nice. The idea of fall is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. Okay, the cooling temperatures, the leaves changing color, bright yellows and I was gonna say pinks, but no, not on this planet. Yellows and oranges and reds and just this glorious fall environment. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I wish it did. But really, fall is just 43 straight days of rain, and then it becomes bitterly cold. So in that way, fall is a myth. And obviously, the worst season. Well, the second worst season. Winter is the worst season. Fall is the second worst. Spring is the third worst, and summer is the fourth worst / the best. I'll get to your questions in just a second here. So I wanted to remind folks to watch fantasy football pregame for all your last minute start sit questions. 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. You can see that on Peacock or the NFL on NBC YouTube channel or channel 85 on Sirius XM. So check that out. And also check out my work from this week. I have the Funnel Defense Report live on Rotoworld right now, where I look at matchups for week 4, how certain defenses are being attacked. And then I also from earlier in the week, I have the regression files talking about players and teams that are running pretty hot and pretty cold and what that might mean going forward. Excuse me. All right, let's get to your questions. Dan says, thanks again for another helpful cue. Yes, I'm happy to be here, Dan. I've been called Dan many times. Danny, more like. Seems like all my hopes and dreams for Javonte Williams to be good have now turned into a nightmare. Is he droppable? I mean, look, by every nerdy running back metric, it's him and DeAndre Swift as the worst running backs in football right now. And that, that's on me, is what I would say. I bought into the Javonte revival tour. For a few reasons, not least of which was Sean Payton's, history of, very much involving running backs in the passing game. That has not come to fruition, unfortunately. So Jaleel McLaughlin is another guy that's just not a thing because that has not happened. And Javonte is now ceding snaps and rushing attempts to Tyler Bidet. Don't call him Tyler Beatty. He's now called Tyler Bidet, who, he checked a lot of boxes last week. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos give him another shot, Bidet, talking about Bidet, to possibly lead this backfield. I hesitate to say to drop him in a 12-team league, but I won't call the police, is what I'd say. Dan, he's back. Half PPR. Would you start Quentin Johnston over any of the options, or keep him on the bench? Rashid Shaheed. Look, Shaheed, I know, zero balled you last week, and that stinks. 62% air yard share, 21% target share. And while you can't actually eat air yards, as I remind you guys on the stream every week, it is helpful to know how a player is being used. So he's volatile, but I would start Shaheed over Quentin Johnston this week. Lindorphins is in the chat, the Chatterooski. Don't know why I said that. Happy Friday. Same to you. Crawling the tight end depths without Njoku. Would I start Taysom or Likely against Buffalo or Hunter Henry? Yeah, see, the thing with Taysom is I really don't have any idea how he's going to be used upon his return to the Saints lineup. But I do like him over those other options. I have this nagging fear for the pass catchers in Baltimore that last week's success on the ground and their total abandonment of the pass against the Cowboys. And yes, I know it was the Cowboys and they have a particularly odious rush defense, but I have this nagging feeling that success is going to linger in the mind of one Todd Monken. And Todd will become curious about what would our offense look like if we ran the ball at a 65% clip. And so that makes all of the Ravens pass catchers pretty useless, including Likely. So I'm not prioritizing any Ravens pass catcher right now. Lindorfin says, have PPR start Ladd, McConkey the fourth, or Worthy, or well, I guess if Herbert plays, I would. Yeah. No, you know what? I'd go Worthy. Just go Worthy. All right. Darnold, Fields, or Love. I wouldn't push it with Love. Hey, help! I have a family. Well, since you have a family, I'll help you out. Look, the back-breaking mistake from Darnold is probably coming. If not this week, then next week. You know, are you freaked out by a catastrophic week? I'm not for Darnold. You know, I'm not. I think the Kevin O'Connell offense is good enough, and this sounds funny, but like the Vikings defense is good enough to keep Darnold in neutral or positive game scripts, and that's where we need him to be, right? We don't want this guy dropping back down 17 in the second quarter. That to me would be bad, just traditionally for Sam Darnold. So I would lean Darnold here. See how Jordan Love plays. See, who knows? He might be limited. Malik Willis has played so well. I'm just gonna put it out there. All right, I have no inside information on this, but if Malik Willis came in and took a snap inside the 10 or inside the 5 this week for a hobble Jordan Love, I wouldn't be all that surprised. All right. Of these three, which would see the bench this weekend? Madison, Tyler Lockett, or Hopkins? I think it has to be Madison. Hopkins only ran half the routes, but he was targeted on 30% plus of his routes. So that's a good sign. Hopefully he can ramp up his playing time a little bit, or the Titans will, I should say. And Tyler Lockett's going to be in a very likely shootout with the Lions. Every time the Seahawks and Lions play, they shoot out the our Seahawks and Ryan Grubb, the OC. Crazy pass rate over expected numbers of late. So lots of dropbacks for Geno. Should be good for Lockett. So bench Madison. Adam says, would I start Andy? Oh, man. Time flies, right? Things change so quickly. I remember being booed off the proverbial stage in August when I suggested maybe Joe Flacco would see starting snaps for the Colts this week because Anthony Richardson is probably just not ready to be an NFL quarterback. It's looking like a pretty good prediction to me right now. So okay. If Deontay Johnson plays, which it does look like he's going to play, I would actually start Dalton over Anthony Richardson. I'm not messing around. Richardson's only rushing on 17% of his dropbacks. And he's rushing, and actually my buddy Rich Rebar at Sharp Football Analysis pointed out that Anthony Richardson is rushing at a very low rate, one of the lowest in the league on pressures. So it's not like we're getting a quarterback where, he gets pressured in the pocket, he flees, and he picks up 6 or 8 or 10 yards, right? That's kind of what we thought we were getting with Anthony Richardson, even though we had a sample size from 2023 that said that that's not who he is. He doesn't really scramble that much. And so that just torpedoes the whole concept of Anthony Richardson as a fantasy producer, right? He was supposed to be the Konami code guy who could still get by, even if he threw for 150 yards and a touchdown, right? Which is nothing great. But, if you supplement that with 80 yards and a touchdown on the ground, then you're talking. You're not getting that. And it's just an absolute disaster, nightmare, apocalyptic matchup against the Steelers. I like the Bengals Panthers game. The total on that has risen by 3 points this week. And I think that's for good reason. The Carolina and Cincinnati defenses are really bad. And Dalton is out for revenge. All right. The analytics say you play the revenge guy here, folks. All right. Let's see. Well, first of all, I need to retweet something to get folks in here. We have a good crowd, but I want more. Steven says, pick 2 Chuba, James Cook. Yeah, right. Okay. I know. Look, Chuba is a good start. Okay. And you want to use them because Jonathan Brooks will be back in a week or two, and then who knows? But you cannot possibly, in a million years, bench Cook or Taylor. I wrote up a little bit of Jonathan Taylor's matchup against the Steelers this week, and it's not as horrible as you think. I also think that the Shane Steichen offense is just going to pull the plug on the passing game for now. And that means even unless the game script just goes completely haywire here, that means 20 plus touches for Jonathan Taylor. So I would have to bench Hubbard. Let's see. We have, would you recommend Josh Jacobs or Hubbard this week? I think you have to go Jacobs. It's close though. It's close. All right. Naylor or Trey Tucker. I talked about Trey Tucker on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry and Jay Croucher. And I think that Trey Tucker is a fine play. 9 targets last week. He ran like 80% of the routes, 70% neutral pass rate for the Raiders this week. No, not neutral, 70% overall pass rate because they cannot run it because they have a terrible backfield. So that increases volume. Also, this rate. By the way, I'm just remembering. I forgot to mention Connor Rogers, who is an amazing host of the Fantasy Football Happy Hour and makes my job so easy on that show. So I joined him as well. So check that out on Peacock when you get a chance. Anyway, getting back to the Browns-Raiders game, it profiles as a pretty ugly game, but the fact that neither the Browns nor the Raiders can run the ball effectively probably means a high volume game on both sides. And by that, I mean just lots of plays. You have 2 quarterbacks that don't really run. I know Watson runs a little bit. Minshew doesn't run at all. Okay. So a drop back is either a sack or a pass. And we've seen that. We've seen Minshew be a good distributor for Brock Bowers, for Devontae Adams, who, just be careful. Adams apparently tweaked his hamstring on Thursday. He was limited. If he's limited on Friday, he should be fine to play. But if it's a DNP, did not practice, then I think you need to plan on not having him. That would make Trey Tucker an even better play, a much better play, honestly, along with Jacoby Myers. Jalen Nailor's getting away with it. Okay, like he's running all the routes. He's technically the wide receiver too, but 3 touchdowns in 3 games, and really, I think he's only being targeted on like 14% of his routes, which is really low. So I'm in on Tucker over Nailor, but don't ignore this Browns Raiders game. I think there actually could be some fantasy juice to squeeze there for Amari Cooper, for maybe Jerome Ford, Njoku if he's back. I don't know. I haven't checked the. There's no way to find out if Njoku's playing right now. And like I said, Myers, Adams. Don't sleep on this Browns Raiders game. Could be fun. All right, Philip is in the chat. Mr. Fry, who has more upside this week, Mahomes or Derek Carr? Man, things just really spiral, don't they? Things get really bleak for fantasy. We thought this was the year, right? We thought, well, they got Xavier Worthy, they have Rashee Rice, they have Marquise Brown, who's done for the year. This is going to be Mad Mahomes just throwing bombs over the top of the 2 high safety shell coverage week after week after week. And we get the complete opposite. No one has a lower air yards per attempt than Mahomes. It's just dink and a dunk and a dink and a dunk. And yet Travis Kelce can't get involved. It sure is curious. I was so excited to get Travis Kelce in like the 4th round of redraft this year. I never get through Travis Kelce's amazing fantasy seasons. I never drafted him because I'm not using a 1st round pick on a dang tight end, right? I get him in the 4th this year. I'm like, hell yeah. Like I'm in now. And I'm in just when the guy stops producing. And on a recent podcast with his brother Jason, Travis says, I don't care. I don't care if I'm not producing. We're winning, aren't we? 3-0, baby. Yeah, I mean, it's like the luckiest 3-0 ever. Let's be honest. Okay. Chiefs stink. All right. Anyway, what do we have? I mean, I would lean, I'm not going to break any news here. I would lean Mahomes. The Saints Falcons. That game is dropped by 3 points down to 42. I think it's pretty ugly environment. I would go Mahomes after saying all that. Jerry's in the chat. Have Breece Hall, Pacheco, Najee. I just picked up Steele. Would it be crazy to drop Steele to pick up Braylon Allen, the RB2 in New York? Use him as a flex. I struggle to tell you to start 2 running backs on the same team, but these guys are involved enough in the offense because the offense is just really lacking talent, right? That you have Garrett Wilson, who's pretty good, not great, but pretty good, and then you have Breece Hall, and then you have pretty much no one else, right? So that has forced the Jets' hand with Braylon Allen when the matchup is good. I'm just struggling with this one. I don't think Steele has any juice, so I guess I'd rather have Allen. Yeah. All right, Uncle Ted. But yes, Uncle Ted says, but Tyler Bidet, don't call him Batty and don't call him Beatty. Is a ridiculous 6.9 yards per carry last week, which is crazy. He had 6 yards after contact per rush last week, which is really great. This is Good Vibes Friday. I mean, sort of, except for that it's fall and fall stinks. Adam's in the chat. Half PPR, pick 2. Dobbins, Ford, Akers. Yeah, Mixon's not playing. I actually think so. Akers had 10 of the 11 running back rushing attempts last week for Houston. That game just went completely off the rails for Akers' purposes. Like the Texans were down 3 scores in the second quarter, and so Akers was just not going to get there. They're playing Jacksonville this week. Should be, easier sledding. So I would actually go Akers and Ford, assuming Mixon is out. I talked about dropping Javonte. It depends It depends, but I wouldn't be totally opposed to it. Mr. Fry's back in the chat. Oh yeah, I answered that question. Brian Tom on a sputtering offense. I don't know who Brian Tom is. Brian Thomas. Come on, man. Don't make me work like this. Or Rome O. Come on. Just can we just say Brian Thomas or Roma Dunze? I don't know if Keenan is going to be back. I do think that, we talked about this on the Rotoworld football show. I recommend everybody go check that out. I do think that there's a good chance the Bears just completely pull the plug on the running game and just have a bunch of like junky dropbacks, like 50 dropbacks a week for Caleb Williams. And that should open up enough volume for everybody in this offense, including Roma Dunze. Roma Dunze was mentioned. I wrote about him possibly too much in the regression files for this week. And it's because even though he had over 100 yards and a touchdown last week against Indianapolis, he ran pretty cold. Like he got a little bit unlucky. Could be really good. Like they're looking to him for big plays, and he gets a smattering of intermediate stuff. I think just enough to sort of smooth over if he doesn't hit on those big plays. Anyway, I would go with Roma Dunze there. Jets defense or 49ers defense. Let me just remind me. So the 49ers are playing the Patriots, and the Jets are playing. I am scrolling. The Jets are playing no, not the Titans. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, I don't have that information with the Broncos. They're playing the Broncos. I'd go with the Niners. Just go with the Niners, yeah. Is Trey Tucker a sleeper pick over? No. Don't do that. Too cute. We get a little cute. That's too cute. Christian Kirk, 10 targets, led the team last week. Finally had like a full route participation rate. Jags should be forced to throw here quite a bit. And importantly, Evan Ingram is out with that hamstring injury. So, excuse me. I would definitely look to Kirk here. I think it's a pretty good spot for him. And the Texans are not so great against slot guys so far. Daniel says full PPR. I'm on fraud alert. We're all on fraud alert to some extent, Daniel. So I'm with you. Pick one of McLaurin, Dobbs, or Hubbard. Well, I don't think you're a fraud if you have Dobbins and Hubbard. Those are pretty sharp picks, in my opinion, as someone who has a lot of both guys. Obviously, McLaurin's a fraud pick. Yeah, I know. I'm glad you asked this question because I think the knee-jerk thing would be like, McLaurin caught a long touchdown last week. I'm starting him. But again, talked with Pat Doherty about this at length on Tuesday's Rotoworld football show. McLaurin got away with it big time. Like, none of the peripheral stuff was very good. They moved him around the formation a little bit. The Commanders are going to establish it, man. Like the Cardinals' run defense is pretty bad. The Washington offensive line is pretty good. I think underrated at this point. I think this is a Brian Robinson game. I think obviously it's a Jaden Daniels game because every game is a Jaden Daniels game. But I'm talking about from a rushing standpoint. So I'm not sure about McLaurin. I could see a scenario where he only gets 3, 4, 5 targets, and maybe he hits one big. I don't know. But I would go Hubbard. That's my long way of saying I would go Hubbard. All right. Pick 2 for this week: DJ Moore, Montgomery, or Higgins. I would bench T. Higgins. Don't get weird about DJ Moore. All right. Picked up Ingram off waivers last week. All right. Well, I mean, that's okay. He's not going to be back for a while. Okay. So you have Ferguson. I don't see any. No, I actually would. I would drop Ingram if I were you. JT and Cooks are my running backs. Flex Tirico. Let's ride. You played your flex on Thursday. That is a no-no, brother. You can go to fantasy football prison for that. I hate to say, look, I didn't create the law. I will enforce the law. This is a law and order stream, first and foremost. Okay. You got pretty cute there, starting Rico, and got away with it with a receiving touchdown. But anyway, you'll be fine. You have a cook in JT. You'll be good. Let's see, Sebastian. 10-person league, PPR, double flex league. Would you trade Bijan and Dell and Javante for Dobbins, B. Robin, and no, I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. All right. Eric, half PPR. Do I bench Garrett Wilson and start Chase, Godwin, and Deontay instead? I mean, if you're gonna do that, this is the week. The Broncos are a run funnel defense. I think the Jets will go pretty run heavy. They've already been pretty run heavy. I think they'll be even more so this week against Denver. Garrett Wilson is likely going to see shadow coverage or something close to it from Patrick Surtain, the fourth. And so I would want Godwin and Chase and Deontay over him. I missed one here. Dan, would it be too much to give up T. Higgins for Jonathan Brooks? You're going to be, if you do that, you're going to have to be patient because, Brooks is not going to be back to week 6 at the earliest. And then there's definitely going to be a ramp up period, right? Chuba Hubbard's playing well enough so that he's probably not going to be phased out of the offense completely. So I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. That's what I would say. Elijah Higgins is Trey McBride out? Dang. Wow, that escalated quickly. Oh, yeah. He's out against the Commanders. Oof, that really escalated. All right. Well, I guess yes. Elijah Higgins is going to run 80+% of the routes in the Arizona offense. And he'll play the McBride role. So go for it. Good call. Good call. If you're down bad at tight end, you could do a lot worse than Elijah Higgins. Slot receiver doing well against Detroit. Is it too cute to start Lockett? Or should I stick to Leggett? Or wait, how are we pronouncing his name now? Leggett? Leggett? I don't. It changes every 3 to 4 days. So it's not. No, it's not. It's not too cute. Lockett's not really playing a lot of slot. You may be thinking of Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah, but I would start Lockett. The shootout potential of Detroit, Seattle, too much to turn down. I think George trade Devontae Adams for Achane. Okay, so by doing that, you are betting on a Tua return sooner rather than later. And that makes me nervous. Who knows? He could return in like 2 or 3 weeks. He could return in like a month or 2 or not at all. So if you feel good about Tua's return, I would go with Achane. Yeah, I would rather have Achane than Devontae Adams. Andrew wants to know, and I will tell him, flex Waddle, Steele, Bucky, or Dortch. Greg Dortch, Sisson. This is tough. Bucky Irving, he's struggling with a hamstring injury. I find it tough to recommend him or Steele here. Oh, gosh. Waddle. I guess. Waddle. Ugh. Purdy. Go with Purdy over Mahomes. I wrote up the Niners passing attack in the funnel report if you want to check that out. Too cute to start Christian Watson if Love plays. I could start McLaurin. Not too cute. I would go with McLaurin over Watson. Watson is down pretty bad. All right, potential trade. I get McBride and Algier, and I'm giving up Kittle and Hubbard. The thing is, Algier is a great bench stash. You can't really use him, but he would be like a top 10 running back if Bijan Robinson misses time this year. Okay, we're knocking on the wood over that. I guess the McBride and Algier side. I guess we have index of suspicious as washed Kelsey. By the way, check out Galaxy Brains with me and Pat Doherty. We break down 3 ways that Travis Kelsey can get his season back on track. We are not consultants for the Kansas City Chiefs. I just want to point that out. But we do have strong recommendations on how Kelsey can get back to form, including running a real pass route. Just one. Just for fun. Just for a treat. It would be cool instead of like zigzagging like a dad in a flag football game in the backyard. That's not working as much. All right. PPR. Oh, Jay Center Shakir. I think the Bills, again, I'm going to reference you. I hate to do this like every time, but like I really want folks to read my funnel defense report because I think it helps to like better understand the potential direction of an offense in a given week, depending on the matchup. And I wrote up the Bills as a team that will drop back and pass against a pass funnel. They did it last week against the Jaguars to an extent. I think they'll do it again against Baltimore. And Shakir, according to the Athletics' Joe Buscaglia, is the clear number 1 option for Josh Allen. Like, has separated himself from Keon Coleman. Well, that's about it. And so I would go with Shakir. We're going to have upside DC rest of season for Brooks. Well, I mean, Andy Dalton's insertion into the lineup lifts all boats, right? And including the little boat that Jonathan Brooks is in. Probably a big boat because he's a big guy. If he's on your waiver wire somehow, you pick him up. Maybe you can trade for him for cheap if you're just looking toward the future. It could be good. It could be exciting. All right, we have would I approve of a move next year to make a kicker tight end flex position, considering the current tight end would be tight end 1 overall would be Brandon Aubrey. Your league mates would hate you, but I would love you. You would have my eternal love and adoration because that's an awesome idea. I know, folks. Listen. I know people get really upset anytime a kicker has a good game. Here's when people get upset about kickers: when they have a good game and when they have a bad game. Then they say we shouldn't have kickers in fantasy. They shouldn't be deciding matchups. Well, I feel the same about tight end. Okay, like I think it's unfair that when my opponent gets 23 points from his tight end, right, and I lose. That's unfair. We have to get tight end. We have to get tight end out of the game. I don't like it. If I don't like a position, if a position hurt me in a previous matchup, get him out. The people are weird about kickers. Andrew, should I trade Jordan Mason for Marvin Harrison? I feel like the phrase like looking a gift horse in the mouth, although I don't really know what that's from, could be problematic. I'm sorry if it is. Would be trading away Jordan Mason. I wouldn't do that unless you're like horrible at receiver. Is Kelsey a regression candidate worth buying? I mean, I guess I would guess that just because the national chatter has reached a level with Travis Kelsey where the Chiefs are like almost obliged to do something about it, right? And they're okay, everyone needs to we need to like shut people up. Like we need to like funnel like 6 first half targets to Travis and see what he can do. So I mean, I'm not entirely opposed to that, especially with the state of tight end, right? If you could get him on the cheap, it might not be too bad. All right, CD Smitty. Should I drop Zamir White for Fields, Darnold, or Geno? Yeah, I mean, you're starting Geno, Darnold, and Fields over Richardson. I like Geno best this week, so that's what I would do. All right. Let's see. We have Chad on leaning Mahomes. I think analysts are too reliant on the idea that Mahomes is an elite talent, so he should put up points. But he had 5 QB12 games last year. Right. I know. I get it. I get it. Mahomes, as currently constructed, is not good for fantasy. He's about as good for fantasy as Alex Smith was in this offense. And again, you're gonna just throw something at the laptop or phone or whatever you're watching this on. But it's true. Like, stop booing me. I'm right. Mahomes, look, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. All right, just for the KC fans out there, they're going to easily just glide to another Super Bowl. It's no problem, right? Whatever. I'm just talking about for fantasy. It's not good. It's not good. All right. Diego Enrique Jarin Stag says, too cute to start Love this week. If not, would you rather have Fields, Baker, or Geno? I think it is a little too cute. I'm not going to shout about it, but it's a little too cute to start Love this week. So I would much rather just start Geno Smith. Again, the Seahawks are dropping back at a crazy rate when you look at the pass rate over expected numbers. Saul Hernandez need a tight end since McBride is out. I mean, you could do worse than Elijah. What's his name? Elijah Cummings. I should know this. Yeah, Elijah Cummings. We need to have that on the website. And yeah, I mean that Noah Fant is another possibility there. Maybe someone dropped Taysom Hill, something along those lines, something of that nature. Should I add Ertz or Gesicki with Laporta most likely out? I think Ertz would be the play. And because Gesicki's just not running enough routes. So would I start Caleb Williams or Baker Mayfield? Caleb or Baker? That's a tough one, man. Let me look at the environment of this Bucks game. Bucks Eagles. Oof. Well, this game started at 47 points. And it's down to 42.5 right now. The Bucks have a implied total of 20.5. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can start Baker. I do get the sense just from reading beat reporters and I don't know, looking at the analytics, that the Bears are just ready to say enough. Like, we're not going to try to run the ball anymore. I know Roshan Johnson's getting some steam about maybe he gets some lead back work for the Bears this week because DeAndre Swift has been so abysmal. By the way, on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, I ran across a video, a cut up of DeAndre Swift seeking contact in the open field, where he has multiple, I should say more than one open running lane where he can gain another 8 or 10 or 12 yards or more, right? And instead, he veers away from that running lane and lowers his shoulder and just slams into a defender. I'm not a film dude, but it looks bad. That looks bad. I will say there's often some pushback to those sort of videos where they say, well, what you didn't consider is that the left guard didn't pull correctly, and then the quarterback didn't call this and that, and blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. Maybe DeAndre Swift is actually good. Anyway, start Caleb. All right. Yeah. Start start Tutu Atwell or spend time with my family. You gotta see the family is what I would say. Tutu's not bad, but family is more important than starting Tutu. Ryan Bailey is in the chat. Would you start Caleb Williams over? Yeah, I would. DJ Moore or Rome or no? I mean, you're starting DJ Moore. I know things have been bad, but just trust the process. I'm stuck without McBride and Dynasty. I'm losing. Right. I'm sorry, Elijah. Not the late congressman. That's what I said. I said Elijah Cummings. Apologies for that. Elijah Higgins. Ay. Whoops. Yes, Elijah Higgins is his direct backup. There you go. Got burned by the Bucs defense last week. Yeah, so did I. Texans, Packers, Dolphins. So with the Dolphins quarterback situation, you really can't start their defense because their defense is going to be in such terrible situations, right? You really do have to consider that. I know they're playing Will Levis, a human pick six, but Texans, I think Texans are the play at home against the down unfathomably Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, let's see. We have about 20 minutes left. Jordan Love. Oh, Chris Baines is answering questions for me. Thanks, Chris. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I am the law. That's right. The Zoomers have no idea what Judge Dredd is. Unless they made a reboot where they have some Zoomer with an 8-pack playing Judge Dredd. Chris Sales. Hello, Chris. He is in the chat. Standard. Come on, man. I think it's Zach Moss or Jennings. Zach Moss or Jennings for flex. Zach Moss has a pretty sweet matchup. I would go with him. Billy wants to know for my flex spot, full PPR. Well, Jerome Ford is supposed to practice today. I think he should play. But I talked earlier. If you want to check it out, I'm not going to go through it again. Christian Kirk is a really good play against Houston. So don't dismiss him. I would probably play him over Ford this week, just no matter the injury situation. Forever Eagles, excuse me. Juwan Jennings against New England. Michael Wilson with McBride out. Right. Jerry Jeudy against Vegas. And oh man. This coffee's terrible. Oof, man, it's like gasoline. Ugh, too strong. I don't like strong coffee. Give me a weak cup of coffee, please. I think the play here is it's not Kincaid. It's probably Michael Wilson. I like Michael Wilson out of these options. All right, Forever Eagles is back in the chat. I just answered that. There are some. You guys please don't put your questions 2 or 3 or 4 times in the chat because it bogs down everything. Then I have to scroll and then I click on the same one over and over and it's confusing, waste time. So put your question in once. I will not be able to get to all of them, but I will try to get to yours. Angelo wants to know, start 4 receivers. You benched Hill last week. Good for you, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Tyreek Hill is startable. In 10-team formats, I feel like Tyreek Hill is not startable. I'll say it. All right, I said it. I would start. I'll start Adunze over Mooney. That would be my quibble there. And honestly, I would start Tyreek Hill over McLaurin, but I get it. I get how you're feeling. Let's see. Trade away Dowdle. What is the ceiling? There's no ceiling for this backfield. I mean, 15 fantasy points like Rico Dowdle had on Thursday night against the Giants. That's pretty much as good as it gets. So enjoy that. Lindorphins is breaking news. We have Lindorphins on the ground at Texans practice. Joe Mixon was seen participating in practice today. I appreciate the update. I do. I know I'm making jokes, but I appreciate the update because I'm not able to track breaking news and do the stream at the same time. And often at noon on a Friday, news is happening. So yeah, I mean, if Mixon plays, that destroys Akers, prospects, all that. You guys know that. All right, let's see. Hey, would you start Akers or Charbonnet if both starters are out? I would. I mean, we just talked about the Houston, so you're going Charbonnet. Wow, Forever Eagles. You're really spamming the chat. This is what my kids say. Conk Daddy or Higgins at tight end. Tyler Conklin, by the way. We lovingly call him Conk Daddy on the Rotoworld football show, and my wife leaves me every time I do. Higgins. Tank Dell or J.K. Dobbins. Well, Tank Dell might not play. So then I would start J.K. Dobbins, who would be the only active player of these two. I know it's a bold take, but I stick by it. Larry wants to know Ridley, Leggett, or McLaurin. Ridley. Look, air yards. Someone this week called them despair yards, and I like that a lot, and I appreciate you for putting that in my life. Ridley seeing a lot of despair yards, but I do like him. I like him over these options. Yeah. So this is a good question, Anthony. Tyreek Hill or Deontay. I mean, make sure Deontay's playing. I think he's practicing on Friday. It should be good for Sunday. But for me, it's easily Deontay Johnson. It's just crazy how things work, huh? Yeah, crazy. Alpha. I have Madison, Akers, and Chase Brown stashed. Should I drop one and find someone else? I don't know who. I'm sorry, man. I don't know who's available. Alpha. All these guys could be a thing at some point, so maybe don't drop any of them. All right, Kevin in the chat, 14 team, 1 quarterback league. Yeah, so you drafted Lamar and Jaden, need an RB2. It's hard to answer this on the fly, Kevin. I would try to trade one. And I would be okay trading Lamar. I'm that confident in Jaden Daniels. So I think I don't know. Gosh, who could you get? Mixon, maybe. And I know he's banged up right now, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Sorry if you hear my dog bark. Maybe ETN. I don't know. But yeah, don't be afraid to trade Lamar in that situation. Oof. All right, Billy. I guess I also have Christian Watson as an option in addition to Kirk and DeMarcus Robinson. I would start Robinson and Kirk there. People are answering a lot of questions in the chat. It's very confusing. T. Higgins, Dunze, or Shakir. Kind of depends on the format. If it's PPR, I'd probably go with Shakir. I think that he'll see good volume. He gets the easy stuff. So PPR, Shakir, and then half PPR or standard, I would go with Dunze. I don't think Waddle's in that discussion. I actually talked about the Denver backfield earlier in the chat. Kind of went into how things played out last week, how things might look going forward with Tyler Bidet. All right. King Snow played Singletary last. Yeah, me too. It happens. It happens, guys. Look, sometimes Thursday night didn't go the way we planned. You can still survive. You can still win this thing. Okay. I'm too tired right now to give you a real pep talk, but I will say, just because Singletary scored 5 fantasy points doesn't mean that you're dead in the water going into Sunday. You'll be fine. That's all I can muster. James Conner in the flex spot, ETN, RB1. My wide receivers, lots of guys, need 2. Can't believe Hill isn't a lock. I would go with Hill and Shakir there. Hill and Shakir. Do I start Quentin Johnson over Pickens? I would not. I would not do that. I would go with Pickens. Let's see. K Bautista, Denny, Superflex League, full PPR. Need to fill 2 flex spots. Christian Watson, J.K. Dobbins, Jerome Ford. So I actually don't think that the Colts pass catchers are playable this week or really going forward. I think you just have to do whatever you can to avoid even Michael Pittman. I know that sounds crazy, But I mean, you're talking about a Colts team that's passing the ball at like a 46% neutral rate, which is just crazy low, right? And so, yeah, I mean, you might hear a fantasy analyst be like, Michael Pittman saw 32%, because that's how we all talk, by the way. That's exactly how we talk. Michael Pittman, 32% target share, 100% route share. And what that means is he ran 18 routes and saw 6 targets. Who cares? Anyway, I would go okay, let's get to your question. Need to fill 2 flex spot. I would go with Dobbins and Ford. Dobbins and Ford. Man, that was agonizing. I would go Fields this week over Caleb. 10-team league. I have a bench of Braylon. Lots of guys. Should I be looking to package to them? Yeah, enjoy the depth. Enjoy it. Although, I mean, Javante's worthless for now as far as fantasy goes. So I don't know. All right, I'm going to try to get to a few more here. We have about 8 minutes left. Zeuser is in the chat. We're going JSN, Brian Thomas. I now know that BTJ is Brian Thomas Jr. Juwan or Pittman. I would go with Brian Thomas, and I would go with JSN. I'm not chasing the Jennings thing, if you guys have noticed. Texans defense was my waiver wire target for week number 2. Okay. Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving, or Pittman this week. I would go with Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen is running enough routes and seeing enough high value touches in the Jets offense to be a thing. And so I do think that you're starting Braylon Allen there. I think you can feel pretty good about it, actually. So one theme of this chat is folks asking, should I start Jordan Love? And I feel like you don't need to. I feel like there are enough good options out there this week where, like, for instance, Justin Fields against a terrible Indianapolis defense. I would go with Fields and kind of wait. All right. I try to do this every week. There's a metric that I really like to look at for rushing defense purposes, and it's yards before contact per attempt. Okay. This is often indicative of defenses giving up regular chunk plays to opposing rushers, right? So we have right now, I'm just going to read you some of the teams giving up the league's highest average of yards before contact per attempt. So you have the Eagles actually leading the pack by a good margin. The Eagles' run defense is and has been quietly very bad this year. So it is, I think, technically a good spot for the Tampa running backs, but the fact that they split the backfield makes it a little tougher to decipher who might get there. The Raiders are third worst in this category, giving up 2.5 yards before contact per rush. I do think Jerome Ford, if he's healthy, is in a pretty great spot here, actually. I like him quite a bit. The Commanders are fourth in this category, giving up 2.19 yards before contact per rush. So James Conner's in a good spot. Yeah, so just going down the list, I mean, the Panthers are bad in this category, so maybe Zach Moss can get there. Yeah, so those are the ones. And then the teams that are toughest in this category, yards before contact per attempt, Texans, tough spot for ETN. Ravens, technically a tough spot for Cook, but you're still starting Cook no matter what. The Patriots actually are second best in this category. A really rough running back matchup, actually, the Patriots have become. So Jordan Mason, would not benefit because of that. And then the Vikings only allowing 0.5, half a yard before contact per rush this season. really just snuffing out opposing rushing attacks. It's going to be tough sledding for Josh Jacobs. I think earlier someone asked Josh Jacobs or Chuba Hubbard. That's a tough one. I would lean Jacobs, but I would understand if you go with Hubbard there. Kyler or Daniels. I'm just saying Daniels. Like unless you have Josh Allen, I'm starting Jaden Daniels. Weak coffee or a weak Denny? I would say both. Why not both? As the meme goes. Should I trade Nico for Chase? No, don't do that. Don't do it. Just sit tight. Don't get cute. Too cute. So Burrow's in a good spot. I am definitely starting Jaden Daniels this week against Arizona. And then I would have to start the Titans defense over the Dolphins because of obvious reasons. Let's see. You have Justin Tucker, a kicker question. Thank you, brother. Would you take Boswell or Groupie rest of the season? No. Too cute. There's cute, and then you just cross the line into too cute. It's too much. You just stick with Tucker. AJ Brown back at practice. Thank you. Jack Thompson on the ground at Philadelphia Eagles practice. Thank you, Jack Thompson, reporter for the local NBC. I'm kidding. No, he's not. He's not. Probably shouldn't have said that. But AJ Brown spotted at practice. That is good for my teams. So thank you. Thank you for that. All right, we'll do a few more, and then I will log all the way off. Need a tight end with Trey out. Drop 4, JK. Oh, really? Wow. You have to drop one of those guys? I mean, I get don't drop Amari Cooper. So one of the whatever running back you're not losing, I guess. Bucky Irving or Ladd McConkey or Leggett. I would go with Leggett. I think the Panthers could be pretty pass heavy here. Did I miss some? I missed some here. Full PPR, Adunze, Shakir, Higgins. I probably answered that, brother. I would go with Shakir. All right, I'm gonna scroll down. It's okay, Gremlin Brotherhood. It's okay that you're late. I forgive you this time. Next time, no. There will be no forgiveness. And I think you deserve that. Dalton. It's Dalton season, man. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. Brian Robinson and Dalton for James. So a trade. And Dalton for James Cook. Yes, do that. Unless I'm missing something. Yes. Starting the flex. Zach Moss, really good spot. I just talked about the matchup for the Bengals. Really good spot. Yeah, so Ramondre, I think a realistic stat line. That's a tough question. I would say you start him. I think last week they just kind of pulled him because it was a blowout on a Thursday night. There was really no reason. But I think the Patriots clearly want Ramondre Stevenson to be the centerpiece of their offense. So as long as this game doesn't get too out of hand, and I kind of don't think that it will. I was shouted down on the Rotoworld football show for saying this, but I don't entirely hate the Patriots this week to hang tough with the Niners. So I think you're starting Ramondre. All right, folks. I'll answer 2 more. Trade Nico for Bijan. I probably would not, unless you're really down bad at running back and you're good at receiver. Godwin or Ayuk. I would start Ayuk. It's a really good spot. Don't worry about last week. Ayuk is going to get there. Mark my words. I will eat a bug on air if he doesn't. I'm probably not going to do that. Just so you know. I would go Christian Kirk over Shaheed. Shaheed obviously has the ceiling. So if you're down bad going into Sunday, then maybe start Shaheed, but Kirk is the play. All right, folks. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your answers. Thank you for joining me for this Friday Start Sit Chat on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel. Wanted to remind folks to get their questions into fantasy football pregame Sunday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Peacock and the NFL and NBC YouTube channel, and Sirius XM channel 85. So remember to check that out, and I will talk at you